In many relationships, men often feel something is off, an invisible pressure, a subtle emotional disturbance, but they can't quite put their finger on it. This sense of being controlled or manipulated, though difficult to articulate, stems from 6 psychological tactics women use unconsciously. These aren't deliberate ploys of deception but automatic behavioral patterns shaped by evolution over millions of years. Women themselves often don't realize they're employing them, and the impact varies depending on a man's psychological vulnerability. By understanding these tactics, men can develop immunity and reclaim emotional sovereignty. 1. Withdrawal and emotional distance. One of the most common tactics is sudden emotional withdrawal. A woman may go from warm and affectionate to distant and cold without explanation. This shift triggers panic in men, who scramble to understand what they did wrong and attempt to fix it. In reality, this behavior is not personal punishment but a subconscious test to measure emotional dependency. The more a man chases during this phase, the more he reveals his emotional neediness, reinforcing her control. It's a form of psychological scarcity designed to heighten the value of her attention. 2. Mirroring and false compatibility. In the early stages of a relationship, many women instinctively mirror a man's values, interests, and desires. This creates a sense of perfect compatibility and accelerates bonding. However, once the man is emotionally invested, her authentic personality begins to surface, often revealing significant differences. This isn't deceit, it's biology's way of securing a mate. But the illusion of compatibility can leave men feeling blindsided, as the foundation of the relationship seems to shift unexpectedly. 3. Guilt and responsibility transfer. Another subtle mechanism is the transfer of emotional responsibility. When a woman expresses sadness or disappointment, the man instinctively feels responsible. Without her explicitly blaming him, he begins altering his behavior to prevent future distress. Over time, this creates a guilt-based feedback loop where the man is constantly adjusting to maintain harmony, often at the cost of his own needs and perspectives. This conditioning fosters self-doubt and erodes personal boundaries. 4. Hot and cold emotional cycles. Women may alternate between affectionate closeness and cold detachment, a pattern known as intermittent reinforcement. The unpredictability of affection creates a psychological dependency similar to addiction. When she's hot, the man feels valued and secure. When she's cold, he becomes desperate to restore the previous warmth. This roller coaster traps men in a loop of seeking approval and validation, making them more susceptible to manipulation. 5. Suggestion and indirect influence. Rather than direct demands, women often influence behavior through subtle suggestions. Comments like, "I saw this amazing dress online," or "Sarah's boyfriend surprised her with flowers," plant ideas in the man's mind. This form of indirect communication leverages male instincts to please, making the man feel like his actions are voluntary when they are actually guided by subtle emotional cues. 6. Love bombing and emotional overwhelm. At the beginning of a relationship, a woman may shower a man with overwhelming affection, attention, and praise. This love bombing isn't calculated manipulation, it's driven by surging neurochemicals and attachment instincts. But once the man is emotionally invested, the intensity drops, creating anxiety and a longing to return to those early highs. This binds the man emotionally, making him more likely to tolerate unhealthy dynamics later on. Beyond the primary tactics, additional patterns include passive-aggressive guilt trips, sarcastic jokes aimed at undermining confidence, the silent treatment, and withholding affection as punishment. All serve the same purpose: to evaluate and shape the man's behavior through unconscious conditioning. Modern amplification through technology. Today's digital tools have supercharged these tactics. Social media allows for jealousy-inducing posts, dating apps offer backup attention sources, and texting enables emotional manipulation through timing and tone. What once occurred in person now plays out 24/7 through screens, increasing the frequency and potency of these behaviors. The deeper truth: unconscious testing, not malice. Crucially, these behaviors aren't signs of evil intent. They are subconscious stress tests designed to assess a man's psychological strength, leadership, and reliability. Just as men are biologically drawn to youth and fertility, women are biologically inclined to test for emotional resilience and dominance. Trying to reason these behaviors away or demand they stop is futile. They aren't consciously chosen, they are embedded in evolutionary psychology. The path to immunity. The solution is not to change women's behavior but to change one's own responses. When a man no longer reacts with panic, guilt, or neediness, the tactics lose their power. Psychological sovereignty comes from developing strong internal validation, purpose, and self-respect. This allows men to love without losing themselves, to connect without compromising their boundaries. The final choice. Ultimately, the unconscious manipulation men face in relationships serves as a mirror. It reflects their own insecurities, emotional dependencies, and lack of boundaries. Men must decide whether to remain susceptible or to develop the psychological resilience that makes manipulation ineffective. This shift not only transforms relationships but every area of life, from business to family to personal growth. Immunity isn't about being emotionless, it's about being unshakable. Conclusion. Understanding these invisible dynamics equips men to navigate relationships with clarity and confidence. The key is not to battle women but to master oneself. When manipulation tactics fail to influence, what remains is a relationship built on mutual respect, authentic connection, and genuine strength. That is the foundation of lasting love.